Thank you so much. My name is Alex Lopez, and I have with me Dr. Cruz-Boone. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
For coming here. It was absolutely a pleasure. How's the conference going?
It's really strange to be at a conference with this many people from all over the country after
the great comeback, huh?
Right. I mean, I feel like it's almost before times.
I'm here with Jim Thorpe. He is a board member in Dearborn, Michigan, with the Dearborn Public School District.
And I have with me Ben Smith from Gnosis.
Yeah,
Thanks for joining.
Hi, I'm here with Dr. Teague. He's a board member for Paterson Public Schools in Paterson, New Jersey.
We were talking about empowering the teachers and empowering the parents and building, I guess, bridges, because over the last couple of years there has been a lot of blame, right, and a lot of back and forth, and this is a great return, right? And so let's talk a little bit about what's encouraging there on your side.
You know, it's difficult because we do have the infrastructure and the support system and all these different mechanisms for reaching out to parents. You know, we use Parent Square, so we send it right to their phone every single time there's an announcement of anything, not just COVID related, but like, you know, here's a bingo night for your kids, like anything goes out through that. So there's a lot of one-way communication, but I think we really do need to work on building those bridges and those relationships, those human relationships, not just sending information. I think we're great at communicating to our families, but something I'm noticing more and more often, and I mean, quite frankly, I'm an elected board member, so I expect that people are going to come and yell at me. Like, that's the cost of doing business.
That's what you signed up for.
That's exactly what I signed up for. But
I'm sorry to say that.
Well, you know, I didn't quite know that. It wasn't in the job description, but I'm learning, and I understand, right? I mean, we're where the buck ends, and I expect that. But we're seeing a lot more happening now is parents very aggressively, caregivers very aggressively coming at some of the teachers, some of the support staff at the school. These are people that are, you know, some of them entry-level jobs making, you know, not very much money.
Their teachers are not setting policy. So if you're upset at policy, you can't go to Mrs. Jones, right? Well,
and you know, and some of it, you know, some things as kids are coming back into environments, you know, there are new experiences that are uncomfortable and unnatural, and they're not easy. It's not the job of public education to make everything easy for kids. Learning's not easy. Yeah. And some parents resent that. And that doesn't make them bad parents, but it's difficult for me in public education right now. There needs to be a bright line. A line in the sand where we say, you cannot treat our staff like this. These are professional experts who deeply care about your children. Like, you can't call them names or swear at them or threaten them.
Absolutely, no. You could be hard on a child, but you can't belittle a child, right?
Absolutely, and you can't belittle a teacher either.
Anybody, really, to be honest with you.
Well, kindness goes a long way, and so it's really hard. There's a lot of tension between, we want to empower our parents, we want to listen to our parents, we want to make sure that they are active participants in the public education that's occurring. But we also, you know, can't reward bad behavior when people come in at, you know, full mama bear mode and every other word is an expletive and name calling happens. I mean, that is scary for someone on the receiving end.
Absolutely.
So I think, you know, one of the big issues in education right now is, as we're moving out of the virtual world and back into the real world, is rebuilding those relationships and starting with kindness and open doors.
Well,
and I think
that's
hard.
An excellent policy, right? And it's super hard and super, it's super encouraging that you're actually involved heavily into trying to bring that back. So tell me a little bit about yourself, because I know you're a role model in the community, and
you're very sweet.
And thank you so much. But I know you are highly qualified. So tell me about your doctorate. Tell me about what you've been doing to get you where you're at right now.
Well, and you know, my story is a lot like the stories in my community. My mom was a single teen mom. My biological father, you know, by all regards, loved me very much, but had a substance abuse problem and spent most of my life in prison. He's still struggling with that now. And so neither of my parents finished high school, and that was really important to my mother, that my sister and I finished high school and didn't get pregnant. Like, that was her goals for us. And you know, my teacher said you could do even more than that. And throughout my journey in public education, you know, I went to the schools where I get to represent as a school board member now, And then I went to the community college in my town, and then I went away to another public university, Cal State Northridge, got my master's degree. Then I went to Fresno State, got my doctoral degree, and there was never any doubt in my mind at any point that I would bring back all those things I learned about education and come back to the community that gave so much to me, and try to return that back there. And a lot of people make jokes about Bakersfield because of the industries that we serve, or, I'm not sure why, but it really is a wonderful place to raise a family. I love getting to be a mother and an educator and a board member there.
Absolutely. So I think the world in education needs more role models like you, and so we want to make sure that people understand that it's hard work, and you're doing it out of your own time, right?
What is the most rewarding feeling about being a board member or being a member of the board?
I learned last year that I've got a lot more patience than anyone ever thought I had, including myself and my wife. I had to be the one that was getting beaten up constantly at the board meetings because the public has a right to share their feelings. So I learned to be very patient, listen to people, work with them to try to make sure that let them know that they are being heard. When my kids were young, I was always very active in the PTA organization.
Okay.
And as the kids started to get a little bit older, I knew that the PTA was still going to be important, but it wasn't going to be as impactful. And I had done a lot with my local school district. I had served on the curriculum council. I had served on different Chamber of Commerce committees that work with them. So it felt like going to run on the school board was going to make a lot of sense. And I was happy to get elected and be reelected once already.
What advice do you have for someone, a parent, that wants to get involved and wants to be a part of the school board?
Make sure that you really understand what you are getting into. There's a lot of work that can go on behind the scenes. Now, with different board members, you can choose your level of involvement, but I feel that the best board members do need to be decently involved and not just showing up for those meetings. There's a lot of behind the scenes things that we need to understand, and serving your constituents, whether it's the staff, the students, or the community as a whole. Get to know all of them.
Now Ben is a past board member for a school district, and Gnosis is a very interesting program that you have. Why don't you describe a little bit about your background first, and then let's talk about what your program is about.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. So
because people have to hear this.
Yeah, so I am dyslexic. Okay. That's something that I don't normally lead with.
Right.
But I'm a success story. I'm one of those that didn't fall through the cracks, and that's what's driven my passion.
Neat. Neat.
But my dyslexia caused me to create tools to educate myself and to innovate in my own ways so that I could excel.
Yeah.
And it allowed me to graduate high school early.
Wow.
I finished my bachelor's degree. I started I ran my first startup that I launched when I was 17. Very, very successful. I went on to get 2 master's degrees, and I'm currently working on my PhD in psychology.
Fantastic.
All struggling to read, all going through that. And the reason that I chose psychology was actually it's got an emphasis on the psychological and academic benefit and impact that educational technology can and does have on socioeconomically disadvantaged high school students in the U.S. That is my dissertation topic. I'm hoping to defend in November, so I'm pretty far into that process. But that has been my passion. I've been in college now for, I was joking the other night, I don't know if it was joking or crying, but 20 plus years in college.
One of these days you'll do it right, huh?
One of these days I'll finally finish. I'll stop giving them money. But the whole time, through my professional career, I managed the global development of K-12 systems for a large educational company, and I've spun off. I started on my own, and I'm now on the backside finishing on my own, trying to create tools that support the emotional wellness of kids.
Yeah, very interesting. So I see you have a T-shirt here.
I do,
I know
yeah.
this is not an advertisement, but
Yeah.
it's indicative of really how you're relating and communicating with kids.
Right. So one of the things that I did was I did a study. I wanted to understand how best to engage with kids. Why aren't the tools that are out there working?
Right.
And it's because you get to a certain point where it's not engaging for the kids. It's not comfortable for the kids.
Right.
So as part of my application, I'm leveraging emojis. And the best way to get kids to respond and interact, and actually, so this aspect of the tool allows kids to engage and reach out for help without that social stigma that comes with raising their hand in the classroom. They don't have to be seen. They don't have to engage. This is their engagement. They click on a little emoji. It's discreet. It's private. It's one time. Our system logs it and creates kind of a trend out of it and triggers notifications and is able to monitor risk based on one question and the variables that go with that. And by doing that, we're able to actually track suicidal ideation. We're able to track risk for violence, whether it's to self or others, and a number of other things. And post-pandemic, you talk about issues in education.
Yeah.
Post-pandemic, right now, suicide is the 10th leading cause of death for adolescents in the U.S. 1 in 3 students is suffering from severe learning loss, to the point where their academic success is at high risk.
Wow.
So there's a lot of things, and that academic success and that tracking the learning loss is another focus of mine, and is part of what I'm doing with my organization to address. So if you can find a way to track the emotional wellness in real time of the kids and combine that with academic performance and predictive indicators, you can intervene academically and emotionally and save lives and create an opportunity for success.
How have the students felt about the changes that you have made for them? I'm talking about your special education students.
There's been a positive vibe from it. My daughter, for instance, she still has an IEP, but she gets lesser services than before because her needs have changed. And that was one of the biggest issues. We had students that's needs changed, and they kept them, though, the way they were before in terms of services. So you see a lot of students now that are older students now that are responding a lot more positively to the fact that if they don't need that specific service, they don't get it. So because a lot of students, believe it or not, if they feel, if they get pulled out of the classroom, right there's a feeling of why is that one student being taken out of the class?
Yes.
So if that's taken away, and now they can be with their classmates for the duration of the day versus being pulled out, their attitude is changing now. So they don't feel different. You know what I mean?
It sounds like you have had some personal experience with getting what equity needs for your child.
Absolutely.
Can you explain a little further of what that experience was before you guys got further along in the process in your school district?
Right. Well, in 2009, when I went back to, Governor Christie at the time, streamlined all of the services, and we received a phone call, myself and several other teachers and parents received a phone call that some of the services our children were receiving were being streamlined or eliminated because of lack of funding.
Okay.
So, we went to the local board meeting, we wrote letters to the governor's office, petitioning to get those services back because they're rightfully, our children deserve them, entitled to them. And eventually we had to go to the New Jersey Supreme Court and file a petition against the governor's office and the school district for not providing those services. And as a result, we won that lawsuit, and they had to provide compensatory services for our children. So that was like the first time I actually learned how to fight for special needs students.
Yes.
And it turns out it was my daughter. At the time, I wasn't really interested in trying to find out what was going on in the school system. So my daughter really was my inspiration to get involved.
That's good. That's good.
Okay.
Thank you for joining us today, Dr. Teague.
No problem.
Thank you very much. Nice talking to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for joining us, Jim, today.
Sure. Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.
True.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you for your time.
It was
I
a pleasure.
appreciate it.
Yeah, it was great
Come
meeting
visit us
you.
in Bakersfield. It's
I
a
would-
beautiful place with a rich history.
I have
so-
been there and I love it, so I
Oh, I
will
didn't
go
know
back there
that.
again.
You
yeah,
gotta come
absolutely.
back. We'd
yeah.
love to have you.
Yeah.